Incel is short for involuntary celibate, someone who wants to have sex but can't.
Otherwise known as the world's deadliest virgins. Elliot Rodger, Alec Manassian, Dimitrios Pagorsis all went on bloody revenge attack rampages because they were rejected by women. The Santa Fe shooter killed a female classmate, Shauna Fisher, because a week before she turned down his advances. Shauna finally stood up to him and embarrassed him in class, and a week later he opens fire on everyone he didn't like. And to illustrate how truly messed up this incel community really is, they reacted to the massacre by A, celebrating it.
Take that, hypergamous sluts.
But then B, by debating whether or not the shooter really was an incel because he was just too good looking and may in fact be a high-tier normie. Yeah, if this dude is who you consider to be on the high end of the attractiveness scale, that might be a clue as to why you're having trouble attracting members of the opposite sex. Incels are obsessed with flaws in their appearances, which they believe lead women to reject them in favour of chiseled chads, while failing to consider that the personality of someone who reacts to a school massacre by expressing glee might be something of a turn-off. Yeah, if you're the kind of person who literally calls for the dead victims of a mass shooting to be raped in the morgue, that might provide you with a little hint as to why Stacey isn't interested.
All you high school whores, teen thoughts and blowjob Barbies, find the weirdest kid in your class and give them some ass. Use that cooter to stop a shooter.
Yeah, as far as chat-up lines go, I think it needs a little work. Now obviously the vast majority of incels are never going to turn to violence. Most of them are just self-loathing, maladjusted manlets.
I don't have a job. I am ugly.
Have you approached many women?
Oh, many.
And what was the result?
Rejection 100% of the time.
Imagine my shock.
I would start talking to a girl, and immediately she would give me fuck off signals. She would, pull out her cell phone, just start texting her friends, and just hope I would go away.
Okay, haircut, lose some weight, lose this desperate defeatist attitude, get some clothes that actually fit properly, and you'll do a lot better.
I've had over 1,000 rejections in real life, 2,000 rejections online, so that's 3,000 rejections total.
Yeah, maybe not.
I aim for obese women, ideally ugly and obese.
Jeez, even feminists won't date this loser. That's pretty bad.
If I don't get a girlfriend, I will go on a hunger strike. Surely the government has to step in, right? Will they provide me with a companion or what?
No, mate. Not even Bernie Sanders believes in the equal redistribution of women.
Socialism.
Also, when you post comments that literally advocate bashing women's heads in, chances are any potential government allocation of girls' federal agency isn't gonna look too kindly on that. Incels are a byproduct of our increasingly narcissistic, overprivileged society. They're essentially just honest MGTOWs. MGTOWs, men groping their own wiener, men going their own way, supposedly made the choice to be celibate because feminism turned all women into malevolent, scheming harpies. And it totally wasn't because MGTOWs are almost exclusively fat losers who couldn't attract a fly to a turd. MGTOW for 10 years and I've never been happier. Yeah, mate, you're the male version of a cat lady. The only difference is instead of felines, you collect gaming consoles. Surely one way to diffuse any potential incel rebellion is to turn the very word itself into a shameful insult. Don't care virgin? No. Don't care incel. Anyone find it ironic that David Hogg was once an incel? But while incels should be roundly condemned and made fun of, and while their creation does have its origins to some extent in the bitter fever swamps of the alt-right, it's completely dishonest to claim that the left played no role in their emergence. You guys have been crapping all over masculinity for well over a decade. You've indoctrinated a generation of boys and young men that dominant masculine traits, which women are naturally attracted to, are sleazy and sexist. You're as much to blame for creating this army of militant, resentful virgins as anyone else.
What kind of soy boyery is this?
Why do you think feminists make alliances with Islam? What could it be that they're compensating for?
You have this crazy alliance between the feminists and the radical Islamists. Is there an attraction that's emerging among the female radicals for that totalitarian male dominance that they've chased out of the West?
You demonized young men in the West for their toxic masculinity while embracing the most toxic brand of masculinity on planet Earth. You scoffed at the atomization, isolation, and alienation of young men. You lefties laughed while male suicide rates soared and their academic attainment levels plummeted. You lectured them about how their natural biological impulses were part of some predatory rape culture, destroying their confidence to the point where 25% of US millennial men think that asking a woman to go for a drink is sexual harassment, while the New York Times published articles like this saying if you let boys be boys, they will murder their fathers and sleep with their mothers. Do you think any of that possibly had a role in creating a generation of incels? Also, violent incels existed before the internet existed.
In 1989, Marc Lépine killed 14 women at the École Polytechnique because he believed feminists ruined his life.
So you can't just point the finger at alt-right message boards and say the incel rebellion is entirely of their making. You've got to take a huge wedge of responsibility for this too. The left has also hijacked this incel hysteria to push their demented anti-white racism.
These people are basically white ISIS, except more effective. That's right. The only thing that white supremacists are actually better at than brown people is terrorism.
It is terrorism against women. That attack was against feminism. As women get stronger, is this the reaction from men?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Just because a few hundred idiots on a message board applaud incel terrorism, that doesn't automatically rehabilitate the eternal lolcow that is third wave feminism. That doesn't mean you get to pretend 4chan autists are a bigger threat to women's rights globally than a barbarous 7th century belief system that embraces and spreads a genuine rape culture.
Who is this 4chan?
Social media and dating apps are also partly to blame for the incel rebellion because they inflated sexual promiscuity, which mainly worked in favour of women who had access to better looking guys while the number of uglier, sexless men soared.
There's no incel women. Women can always get laid, right?
Cell phone addiction is also a factor.
The Venn diagram of no social skills in incels is a circle. And
and that's a lot because of the phone.
Look,
you spend all day on the phone, you don't have social skills.
Get off Twitter, get off Facebook, go and spend some time with real people in the real world.
We have a misogynistic leader, a president, and you combine this sort of thing, this misogyny and the scapegoating, blaming other people for your problems, and it gives rise to the vocalizing of these feelings.
Trump's behavior is to blame for incels. Give me a break. Trump's the biggest chad on the planet.
I could do this all day long.
If they followed his example, their incel days would be over in a heartbeat. But Dan Savage is right when he says that prostitution should be destigmatized.
There are some people who the only way they will ever get laid is to buy it, is to pay for it. And what the culture says about someone who buys sex, he's a criminal, he's a misogynist, he's a monster, he's a loser. And so one of the things that gets said about the incels is why don't they just go see sex workers? Well, they already feel like losers. So going to a sex worker is only going to make that worse, especially if they're prosecuted.
And as ever, the mainstream media wants to fan the flames of incel hysteria as an excuse to censor and control the internet.
Is there any way to police this stuff?
Something which will do nothing to address the underlying problem. They're also using it to amplify the moral panic of online misogyny, despite the fact that 50% of misogynistic comments about women are made by other women. Here's the truth, incels. The reason why women don't want to sleep with you is because you're a loser. A loser who's doing nothing with his life other than whining about women on the internet. Incels are like fat feminists who blame the patriarchy and the beauty industry for their inability to get a date. There's no vast Stacey conspiracy holding you back. Even ugly guys can score. It's about confidence. Look, if this guy is willing to at least give it a try, then there's hope for all of you.
Kind of soy boyery is this?
But seriously, it's the overindulgent, wallowing self-pity that makes you unattractive. You radiate weakness and desperation. Find a creative purpose in life. Invest your emotions in something you're passionate about, because that's the ultimate aphrodisiac for anyone.
Right, make yourself worthy of being fucked.
Get off the message boards and get to the gym. Get some hobbies. Get out. Develop your social skills.
You got to be oriented towards something, because otherwise you're disoriented. You just spin around in circles and then you suffer. And so do people around you. It's not a good solution. Orient yourself towards something. You have to figure out what it is. What will work for you?
The incel echo chamber is only going to make things worse by amplifying the loser life narrative in which you're mired. Retrain that inner voice of conscience and embrace the inner Chad that I know is within all of you.